How is it going? Got something super cool today. Came across something in the local classifieds and I thought I'd grab it because I think it'd make a super cool video. And that is a set of 45-year-old speakers. I got a set of Celestion Blackbacks, a pair of these from 1977. Now, I'm really interested in these because I heard years ago, oh yeah, Blackbacks are really cool. I got that information from the same place I got the rest of all, the accumulated knowledge about guitar tone. Oh, change your brand of tubes, it'll change your tone. Or tone wood's a thing in an electric guitar, which we all know is bullshit. So I don't know, are Celestion Blackbacks any good, especially ones from 1977? I really don't know because there's not a lot of information out there, especially on YouTube. There's one channel by a guy named Johan Segborn. If I pronounce that wrong, I apologize. But Johan's got a bunch of stuff on Blackbacks, but it's all going after like classic ACDC type sounds, cranked plexis, Les Pauls, that kind of stuff going into these. And it really does get the ACDC type sound. But from what I've heard, and this again is completely from the guitar player bullshit rumor mill, is that the Celestion Blackbacks are nothing more than greenbacks, but with different plastic caps on because they ran out of the green ones when these were being manufactured. This is the G12M model. It's at 25 watts, 16 ohms, and is rated for 55 hertz, which is apparently the base model because there was another version rated for 75 hertz. Now, if I'm doing down-tuned metal guitars, this might be really cool, but I can't find any information about vintage Blackbacks for metal. Now, one of my absolute favorite modern speakers is the Celestion EVH, which is basically the modern greenback. I've mic'd that up in conjunction with the Hempbacks or just by themselves, and they're a phenomenal alternative to the vintage 30 sound. I'm really kind of in love with that tone. And I'm just completely spitballing an idea here that the Blackbacks might be something really fucking cool as well. But this is the thing, Celestion speakers can vary wildly in sound from year to year to year. I mean, like we see it with the vintage 30s. I mean, like the modern ones don't sound like anything like the ones that came out in the early 2000s. And I mean, like my buddy Lasse Lammert, his vintage 30 cabinet, he's got an Engel cab loaded with a set of vintage 30s that just sound like nothing else I've ever heard in my entire life. The Mesa stuff from about 2000 to 2004 sounded phenomenal as well. I've got a vintage cab out there from that era and it sounds great. But I'm really, really curious how this is going to sound for metal guitar. So what I thought I'd do is I'd get out the most metal cab I have, and that is my Happy Cab. Because I've only got two speakers and because that's the biggest 2x12 on earth, I thought this would be a great fit. It's got those front-facing ports. And I loaded that cabinet up a couple months ago with some Mojotone Greyhounds and it sounded absolutely freaking incredible. I'm really curious how the Blackbacks are going to fit in. Now, the one caveat I have here is that these speakers are so old, they don't have the proper disconnect connectors. And it's like, oh no, am I going to have to solder this thing? That's something I really don't want to do, especially soldering around 45-year-old speaker cones. You want to be extra super special careful to not drop any solder onto the cones. Now, I was just playing around the speaker and I've got some disconnects here sized for speakers, and I was just trying to rock one onto the connector there. And actually it went on without any problems and made a really nice solid connection. Even though it's not the proper quick disconnect, these things should work. Just one note though, you want to make sure if you're ever going to change your speakers out that you have the proper size disconnects. In Canada anyway, you cannot find these in an automotive store. You have to order these from an electronic part supplier. And the proper size here is, I don't know if this is Freedom units or actual metric, but it says 0.20 times 0.205 tab. And these are the ones I found that actually fit on speakers. The automotive ones are either going to be a little bit too big or a little bit too small. It's definitely worth doing a little homework on Amazon and finding the right connectors. In fact, I'll put an affiliate link in the description below so you guys can get pointed at the right connectors. But it's always a good idea to have some of these on hand in case you need to do your own cable connections or whatnot and you don't want to mess around with soldering, because it's definitely a good idea to have a bag of these on hand. That's for sure, especially if you like messing around with speakers like I do. Anyway, let's grab the coffee cab, let's pull out the Mojotone speakers and drop in the Celestions and see what we get. So yeah, just tested this out, dropped the 5150 iconic onto this bad boy right here. And I got to say, just preliminary tests in the room sound absolutely incredible. I can't wait to mic this up and try it out. So I'm going to go move this off into the drum room and really be able to crank this up without damaging my hearing, and really see what it can do. Let's check it out. Alrighty then, we are back. Now, it's been a few days too many since I shot that last part of the video, mainly because I got those speakers dropped into that happy cab and I've just been having way too much fun playing guitar with these things. All I can say is, damn, these things are great. They really do the thing. I got this $269 Harley Benton double cut here, and yeah, I'm having all kinds of fun with the lower output pickups here. It's going into the normal channel with the crunch on the Soldano 100, and yeah, this is just too much fun. And honestly, I'm really not used to playing with this much gain. It's definitely giving me a little bit more appreciation for old school guitar guys like Malcolm Young, that kind of thing, which just basically played with cranked amps and that's it. Damn, you've really got to have your shit together to play with that little gain on your strings. So yeah, hats off to those guys. Cool, all kinds of fun. I got doing a bit of homework on these speakers, and I reached out to my very good friend Adam Steele from Hot Pole Studios. If you haven't checked his channel out, I highly recommend it. He's got some amazing stuff on there, especially when it comes to shooting out various speaker types and whatnot. You know, he was saying, yeah, dude, this is definitely going to get you ACDC type tone, and yeah, hence the double cut. I also noticed this is great for getting, you know, like Judas Priest, Sad Wings of Destiny type tone as well. And this is the thing, you know, in the course of a half an hour, we were sitting there and dialing in tones and getting, you know, really close matches to, say, Priest, Sad Wings of Destiny, Def Leppard, Pyromania, and most importantly, ACDC, Dirty Deeds. In fact, we had so much fun dialing that in, I thought I'd do, you know, a facsimile ripoff of that style of tone. Check this out. All right, now about the subject of blackback versus greenback. I tried doing a little bit of research online, and there's a bunch of different opinions on the forums. Typical social media misinformation bullshit. A lot of opinions, not a lot to back anything up on. I've heard that they're the blackback and the greenback are the same, and that they sound different, and just blah blah fucking blah. Here's something a lot of guys still haven't figured out, and I don't understand why, because nobody bothered to record 4 different speakers in the same cabinet and realize they all sound different, even if they're the same model number. That's all down to manufacturing tolerances. Maybe a bit more glue on one speaker than the other, just a slightly different depth of the pulp that makes up the paper cone for the speaker. All of that can have an impact on your tone. Now, I reached out to Celestion, and they were kind enough to respond and maybe help clear this up a little bit. There's no difference between the greenback and the blackback. They are the same speaker. The 25-watt greenback is the blackback. Apparently, and this was the rumor, and I've had this now confirmed by Celestion themselves, it all comes down to the fact that they just didn't have enough of those green rings kicking around, and they needed to get an order out the door. That's all it is. They weren't, completely anal about that sort of thing back then. It's like, oh, we got an order. We don't have any more green rings. Let's just put some black rings on these guys and get them out the door. So yes, your blackbacks, if you do have them, are in fact greenbacks. So there you go. You've got it from here. And yes, Celestion will back me up on that story. Thank you so much to everybody at Celestion for answering that. Hopefully we can put that one to bed. Yeah, right. Oh, but I've got one and I swear it sounds different. Yes, I'm sure it does. Very, very good. Run along. Go find yourself a ball to bounce. Here's the thing. So vintage blackbacks are the same as vintage greenbacks, these ones being from 1977. And as I was messing around the Soldano and go over to the high gain channel, I'm playing around. I'm like, this is sounding a little familiar. Let me show you what I mean. Yeah. Holy shit. Yeah. I've just messed that one up ever so slightly, so I won't get copyright claimed. I guess the good legal defense I've got there is if anybody actually does try and claim this, they're like, yeah, oh, you're playing Van Halen songs. No, I'm not playing Van Halen, I swear. And I've got all the viewer comments to back me up on this. It's like, you can't fucking play Van Halen. You don't even come close to that. And I'd be like, yes, you're absolutely right. Nor I do not have those chops. So hopefully I don't get copyright claimed. At least I've got a good defense, and that's thanks to you guys. Yeah, I just dug it in, and it's like, oh, come on, I'm not even trying to get this tone, and this is what I'm getting. I'm like, come on. So I sat there and kind of tweaked it out next to the record and whatnot. Now, this is not a dead-on match, nor am I claiming it to be a dead-on match. However, it's always the happy accidents that are great. And again, I'm not claiming in any way, stretch, or form that this isn't a dead-on match for Van Halen 1. No, in order to get that tone, you would need the exact same speaker and the exact same microphone that signal chain was recorded with. I'm just kind of illustrating a point, is that the single most important factor in your guitar tone is the speaker. It's not the tubes, it's not the tone wood, it's not even the variac. You want to get that kind of tone, you got to dig yourself up a greenback or a blackback from the 1970s, because that's how they were making speakers back then, and that's the ultimate filter being put on your guitar. You're not going to get that sound with a GT75 or a vintage 30. It's just not going to happen. So if you're a Van Halen fan and your cabinet is loaded with something other than greenbacks from the 70s, you're not going to get that sound, period. It's just not going to happen. You have to get speakers from the era. This is something I learned last summer, going to Lasse Lammert's and plugging into his vintage 30 cabinet. I'm like, oh, there's the L-Storm tone that I've been after all these years. It's the fucking speaker. And this is the thing, because speakers are a bit of a crapshoot, because you can get the same model, but if it's not from like the same era or serial number set or whatever, there's a very good chance you're not going to get the exact same sound because, again, manufacturing tolerances, maybe the pulp for the paper came from a different place, maybe they're using slightly different glue. All that has a factor on your overall guitar sound. And this is the thing, as guitar players, we don't talk about that sort of stuff because the speakers are hidden behind grill cloths and they're not shiny, so we don't really think about them too much. He said one of my most hilarious moments ever working in the studio was I had a guitar player come in from a band and I'm like, he wanted to bring his cab and I'm like, great, what speakers are in it? And he just laughed at me. And I'm like, dude, what the hell? He's like, oh, why would you care about the speaker? I'm like, because that's where the fucking sound is, you idiot! That's why. That's the most important thing. Oh, but the amp is. No, the speaker is. The fucking speaker is what fucking counts. Anyway, so yes, that's the classic Dawn of Shred guitar facsimile sound. Like I said, it's not a dead-on match, but it's the closest I've ever gotten. The ridiculous thing was I wasn't even trying. It all comes down to the speaker model. And again, if you're a fan of that style of music or anything from that era, yeah, go try and find some old greenbacks or something like that because it's going to get you in the ballpark pretty damn quick. Okay, I also want to grab this V. It's tuned down to like a D. It's a little bit fatter sounding. Got a little bit more gain on here, and I've now got two mics. So instead of just the SM57, I got the 57 also blended with the JZ Classic 2. And this is giving me a pretty fat sound. I gotta say, I'm really happy with this. Yeah, that's all right. That's not too bad at all. It's also real fun for heavy rhythms. Okay, that I would be more than proud to put on a client's record. Damn, that is really freaking cool. And it's so sweet in the top end. It doesn't have that spiky thing going on like the vintage 30 does. It's just super clean. There's barely any EQ going on here at all. I've just got a little bit of Pultec EQ going on here. I've got the boost and cut at 30 hertz by a couple dBs, and then just a tiny lift at 16 kilohertz on a very broad frequency Q. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. Just real minor stuff, just to kind of fatten things up ever so slightly. But the 57 in combination with that JZ, it's just like, damn. Oh, hell yes. I can't get over this tone. I'm just in love with it. Let's have some real fun here. Let's grab a 7-string and just see what we can get out of this if we go down, just a couple more steps. Let's see what happens. Grab Mr. 29 fret Ormsby here. Let's see what this sounds like. know, that's the thing. Nobody even thought of 7-string guitars when those speakers were created. So that just kind of blows my mind. They really translate rather well to the whole 7-string thing. Then again, you know, these are the 55 hertz version, not the 75 hertz version, the quote unquote bass version. So maybe we got stupidly lucky here. Who the hell knows? Just, I am absolutely in love with this tone. Of course, the real measure of any piece of gear when it comes to how well it works in the studio is to run it through a full mix. Check this out. I can honestly say that might have been one of the best guitar tones I have ever got out of the studio in my entire career, and it took almost nothing to get that tone. That's a 57 and a Jay-Z mic with very, very, very minimal post EQ. So did they build speakers better back in the 70s? I don't know. Is it the fact that they're broken in, they're 40 years old, and they've had 40 years of vibration to shake out any kind of nastiness? That could be possible. I really don't know for certain. We'd have to probably get down and measure it some way and figure out what's going on, the difference between, you know, a new greenback and these guys. Now, Johan Segborn, he had a very interesting video where he was taking brand new greenbacks and sanding them down. He actually sanding some of the paper off, and that seemed to take some of the edge off as well. I might want to try that with a vintage 30 at some point just to see what happens, see if it gives a cooler, mellower sound, because some of the new vintage 30s can be a little bit nasty. But I gotta say, the blackbacks here, greenbacks, whatever the hell you want to call them, the 25 waters, really deliver the goods in terms of usable tone. I'm just absolutely in love with this. Like I said, I think I got stupidly lucky on the Windsor used market. I think I found some real gems here, and you're going to be hearing them on this show for quite a bit in the very near future. Next up, I think I'm going to have to try blending 2 tracks of these with, say, 2 tracks of the Hesu Demons, because I'm in love with those speakers as well. I'm kind of curious how that would all fit together. I'm going to take a wild guess that pretty damn well, I would think. Anyway, we're going to have to find out. Make sure you subscribe for that. And if you got any more tips on this kind of vintage guitar sound or some observations or whatnot, feel free to share in the comments below, because I try and read every single one of them. And as always, if I think there's something cool there or something we could all learn, I'll be more than happy to put it on my Friday SMG Viewers Comments show as well. Thanks so much for watching, subscribing, all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys next time. And remember, guys, keep this in mind. If you work for a living, and you work really, really, really hard, do the overtime, go the extra mile, and really get everything you got, your boss just might get a raise next year. Not you, though. Get back to work.